Hi there, it's Brother Alan again, and we're ready to proceed with our massing. So this video is going to take you through the next several steps to continue massing. So far we have one mass, right? It's just a cube and it represents some simplified portion of our building. Okay, at this point we'd probably be wise to go and review the assignment description just to make sure we don't do too much in this assignment. If you read through all this, one of the things I've tried to emphasize is to build forms and shapes without using excessive detail. Okay, that's really important because you can spend a lot of time trying to finish this out, but really all we need are some of the main components, some of the main shapes. So in my case, I'm ready to put in towers, I'm ready to put in this mass, a little bump out, and if we continue reading here, it'll say things like the columns, colonnades, porticos. That's just covering like over a doorway. And I do have, in a way, I have some columns. They're engaged columns or pilasters, but I'll put these in. I won't detail them, right? I'll just put in some kind of a rectangular extrusion off the face of the walls. Okay, and then it says any roofs, slopes, or parapets. Mine has a roof with a slope, so I'll try to pin that down. If you have a parapet, that would mean you can't see the roof. So your temple just stops at the top of the wall. And then you probably have a roof, but it's down lower below the top of the wall and it's totally invisible from the ground. You can just kind of fake that in. You know you have to build it, but again, you can just make it flat. Okay, windows and doors, and then minor reference details. That would be things like arches, the pilasters, once again, string courses, cornices. So I have a string course right here, and I'll just put in, once again, I'm not going to put in that chamfer. I'll just put in a little rectangular extrusion. I might do the same up here. I don't want to build every single one of these, but I might just put in a block that extends out from the building. How about the windows? Well, there's no point in adding every one of these elements around these arches. I'll just simply show that here's the size of a window and here's its outline. And because we're using SketchUp, I have the advantage of being able to just model that one time and then I'll just copy that as a component throughout the building. Okay, so that's our objective. That's what we're going to try to accomplish. Now, the first way that we want to do this, the first task at this point is so important. I can't overemphasize enough the importance of using groups and components. So if you have a cube like this, it shouldn't just stay free and open to where I can click on it and select a face. Instead, we want to select all of this, right click, and either make it a group or make it a component or do what I'm going to show you next. My temple happens to be completely symmetrical. So I don't really want to go place windows over here and then go place windows over here and then go to the other side and the other side. I could actually do the work one time because my building is symmetrical here and here, and it's symmetrical on the opposite side that we don't see in the picture also. So in my case, I'm going to use a component and it's just going to be 1/4 of the building. It's going to be this block right here. Okay, now once again, you have to do this. You have to make groups and components. I've preached this for years, but I still find a student who says, I don't really understand that, so they don't do it. You're up to no good. You remember that quote? Harry Potter, I solemnly swear I am up to no good. If you can't do this, you're simply up to no good, and you'll find that eventually in the project you will regret not taking this early step. So let me demonstrate better how I'm going to do it. Okay, once again, I have a symmetrical building. Maybe you don't. Either way, you can make a group or a component, but I'm going to find the center in 2 directions, and I'm just using T for tape measure, clicking on an edge of the building and pulling back until you get the grip in the middle. So I have quadrants now, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to draw a line, or better yet, I'll just do a rectangle right on top of this shape so that I've got 1 quadrant and then the other 3. And I'll take the other 3 with the push-pull, and I'm just going to get rid of them. Okay, now if you didn't want to do things this way, if you're not going to subdivide like I did, again, you would just click on what you had previously, which would be a triple click so that you select everything, and you would right click and then you would just make it a group. Okay, And the purpose of that is that if I go draw something else, it's not really attached. This is its own shape. I can triple click on this and it doesn't select the group. I can move it around and it's not attached in any way to the group. That's why you got to do it. Okay, and then to go inside of a group, you would triple click, and now I'm inside the group. And once again, if I had that protrusion, if I hadn't deleted it, I go inside my group and I can select anything here, I can move anything here, and it's totally independent from that shape outside of the group. Okay, so that's the beauty of groups and components. Now let me go back to where I was. I'm going to explode this. That makes it not a group. And before I do that, whoops, I better get rid of this piece that I don't need. Okay, now I'm going to right click and I'm going to explode. Okay, and then I'm going to push P for push pull. And I'm going to drop the 3 quadrants. So I'm left with just one. And I'm going to take my quadrant, my leftover one, I'm going to triple select so I get everything, and then make this a component. Right click and select make component. Okay, we can give it a name. I'll just call this quadrant. And now I want to copy and rotate or mirror this thing. I think I'll just use the flip tool to mirror it first of all. And that's this tool right here. So I've got the thing selected and I'm going to do flip. And we want this to copy. So I have to push Control on my keyboard. I get that little plus button, plus sign. I'm going to select the red. I haven't selected anything yet, but I'm going to click right on that red plane and pull it over until it snaps. So that's weird. I'm going to have to redo this because where it grabbed is not where I need it to grab. Okay, so I'm going to do this again. I hit escape, starting over. I select the red plane. There, now it's doing it. Okay, and I'm going to pull this till it hits that left side face, and then it'll flip that around. And now I've got 2 that are exactly the same. Okay, and just to show you the beauty of all this, if I go into one component and draw a rectangle, it shows up in the exact same place, but flipped about the center, right? It's all symmetrical. So that's why we want to do this. Okay, now I'm going to select both of these. Select the first, push Control on my keyboard so that I can select the second, and I'm going to use that same tool. Flip again, but this time I want the green axis. So push Control on my keyboard, select the green, pull this back till it hits the back face, and hit escape or space bar to get out of all that, to exit out of all that. And now I can delete my guides, and let's see how it looks. Perfect, we're ready to go. Okay, I can also use this to see where is the center of the building, right? And that's going to be really helpful because I think the next step for me is that I want to add in this mass on the front. And there's probably another one on the opposite side, so eventually I'll also make that into a component. But for starters, what I want to do is T for tape measure, and I'm going to come to this corner over here and pull that back until I hit the inside corner of where this mass starts to jut out from these walls that I've already built. And that's kind of hard to say because it looks like there's a pilaster right in the center or right in the corner. So I'm going to pretend that I'm looking through that pilaster and the corner must be somewhere back in here, something like that. Okay, the next thing I'll do is create another one of these, and I'm going to come out to this corner, this outside corner, and then I'll do that one more time to find the outside corner over here. I think I'm seeing the outside corner, but I'm not positive. It's somewhere in here, somewhere like in there. See, there's 3 pieces, there's 3 corners, 1, 2, 3. So I can see the first. I think that's the second, or that's the third right there, and the second must be somewhere in between. I think that's kind of a guess, isn't it? Maybe this is the second one. I don't really know, but either way, that's just a minute detail. It doesn't matter too much. Okay, now think about what I've just done. I've just put all 3 of these corners on the same plane. In other words, one of them should be out further in front of the building, but I didn't build it that way. Not with my guides, which is definitely a problem. That's definitely a mistake. except that I know what I'm doing. I'm doing this on purpose. What I really wanted was to know what is the distance from one side to the other. So now I can use my tape measure tool and I can get that distance, right? And I want this to maybe go along the top of the building so that I'm not accidentally going up or down, which will change the dimension here. Okay, so again, that's the tape measure tool, and I did it straight across. I got 30 foot, 6.5. I don't need the half. I'm just going to exclude that. We're going to go with either 30 feet even or 30 foot 6. And I kind of like 30 feet even. That makes sense to me. In fact, I'm just going to delete this one out and see how close would I be to all of that if I did do this at 30 feet even. Let's just see what that would look like. Okay, fine. We'll go 30 foot 6. Okay, and I don't need this anymore at all. Now I can take this tape in the back and we'll move it over 30 foot 6. Okay, so now if you could imagine that you had x-ray vision, we're looking through this side of the building over here or through this front wall here, and we can now see where the side wall of this bump out hits the face of my existing cube here. Okay, it should be right there. If it's 30 feet along the front, it's 30 feet along the back. So that was the whole purpose of getting those guides on the front corners. Okay, and now that I know that, let's just make sure that this is symmetrical, because if it is 30 foot 6, it's got to be the same distance, you know, from here to here as it is from here to here, which tells me maybe 30 foot 6 is the wrong dimension, because you can see how far out of whack that is. But that's okay. Let's get these dimensions and see how close it would be. 13 foot on that side and 16 on that side. Okay, and I'm not going to go with that, right? I can't make this thing offset. So if this one is 13 foot 8, maybe I'll just pull it out to 14 feet. Get rid of this shallower one. And then on this side, I'll just do the same thing. We're going to go 14. So clearly, this isn't going to match the picture exactly. But I have to be, here, let's use E for erase. That'll help me get rid of these. I have to use whatever knowledge I have of buildings in general before I just decide, well, that matches the picture. I know this thing is centered on the building, so that's how I'm going to do it, even if it doesn't follow the photo. Okay, I'll draw a rectangle right on the front here, and then I'm going to pull this out and go back into my scene to see just how far should I pull this thing. And if we go out to there, see, that actually looks pretty good anyways, doesn't it? That looks like a pretty darn good match for the front of that massing. So that wasn't a bad idea at all. Okay, and then always, we want to make a component. So I'm going to triple click this, right click, make component. We'll create this one. I don't know what to call this one. I'll call it an entrance. And then I'm going to take that entrance and immediately flip it around. Remember, hold down, push Control, tap Control, and then click on the axis you want. We'll flip it about the center. Now I got it on the other side too. Okay, perfect. Now I got to tell you, what I love so much about this tool is I never knew what the distance was that I extruded. And it didn't matter because I just matched it up with the picture, right? I could go back to Google Maps and try to get a measurement and do things that way, but I really don't need to, because that's the beauty of photo match, is we just extrude it until the picture tells us to stop. That'll work really nice with geometric shapes like this. Over here, yeah, that's quite a bit harder. You know, I just don't have enough information to really even know where to start, because I got to go to the ground and draw this thing. And I can't very well put in reference planes because nothing is in the right plane. If I try to draw one to this corner, I don't know if that corner lines up with the front of the wall here. And that's really the only way that I could put in a reference plane. I call it a reference plane, a guide. A reference plane is from Revit. That's the only way I could put in a guide, is if it lined up with something I've already built. But I have no guarantee that's in the right spot, so I can't really use that. Okay, so instead, in this case, I think I will go back and I'll just take a measurement. Looks to me like that's about 8 feet along one face or one side. Is there anything in the picture that makes me believe that? You know, the height of a person, if I took one of these people and laid them down across here, is that about 8 feet? I think so. Yeah, that's not easy. That's just a guess. So we'll start off with 8 and just see where it goes. And to do this, I'm going to go to the ground here and I'm going to draw a polygon. There is a polygon tool and it's underneath the rectangle, but you can find the polygon tool. The first thing you do is tell it how many sides you want. If I type in 3, enter, should be working. Let's try that again. 3, enter. There you go. Now it's a triangle. We want an octagon, so I'll type in 8, enter. And yeah, before I do this, I probably better give myself some kind of a reference. I'm going to go T for tag, T for tape. I'm going to draw one line just arbitrarily, and the next one I'll draw it out at 4 feet. And I did that so that it would be half of the 8. And now I'll come in here and start my center on one of these. And the way that polygons work here is that it's going out to the corner of the polygon unless I hit Control, and then it changes so that it's going out to the face of one of the faces of the polygon. Okay, and I'm just going to pull this, little bit of guesswork here. I'm trying to get the front corner there to match up with my guide, and that should do it, because that would tell me that from here to here I'm about 8 feet, and it's close. If you saw that number, it was really close. It's not perfect, but it's close. Okay, and as always, we got to make this a group or component. And you know what? I can hold off. I'll make it a component in just a minute, because the first thing I'm going to do is pull it up and just see if we're even close. Let's pull this to that spot right there, and let's find out. Okay, so maybe 8 feet is just a little bit big. I'll never know for sure, because I don't know if I even connected this in the right spot. You know, when I look at this image, I can tell there's a corner right here. So this face goes from here to here, and then it goes straight back. So I know it does something like that, but I don't know what the distance is. This was just a guess. Okay, so if I'm going to shrink it down, how about this? I'll select the whole thing. I'll use the scale command, and I'm going to try to scale this according to the image, which is really hard to do because nothing lines up over here anyways, as you can see. But I'm going to do this, and I'm going to make sure to use Control so that this thing scales about the center. Or actually, no, I don't want it to scale about the center. I want it to be Shift so that it's a uniform scale. And I'm just reading the bottom of the screen here to find that information. Okay, I think I'll do something like, I don't know if I'm scaling uniform or not. That's not going to work. I better practice first. Okay, if I hold down Shift, it doesn't do it. If I push Shift, there we go. So again, the first one was scaling proportionally. So that's the one that I want. Okay, let's go back. And I'm trying to get that something like this. Okay, let's just see what now is the distance. I can use a tape measure to measure this. 7 foot and 3/4. Okay, so you know, the number that I had chosen initially really wasn't that far off. It does, however, look as though I need to reposition this. So let's do that. Midpoint is going to go to that corner, and let's check it out. Yeah, I like that better. 7 feet was the magic number for me. Now I can make this a component. And watch this trick. We'll call this a tower. Instead of moving this all the way around to the 4 corners, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this, and I'm going to push Control X to cut it out of the project. Then I'll go into this component, and I'm going to do Edit, Paste in Place. That'll put it right back where it was. And now I've got my four corners, 4 towers. How nice is that? And now we get to gauge and judge if we like what we did with that dimension. Wow, pretty good. You know, I don't like what happened over here, but this distance from here to here is pretty good. The distance from here to that corner is pretty good. So yeah, I like that. I can live with that. And then the last thing, of course, is how tall do we make this? So I'll come in here, go inside of that component, P for push-pull, and now I just drag that up and down until I feel like it's at the proper height. From left to right, I'm not getting a great amount of consistency, but I'll just pick somewhere that looks good to me. Okay, and yeah, there we got it. I like it. Okay, so to finish out this video, I've just got one more massing that I need to do, this tower, which is probably both the cube here and the octagon. But we're not going to worry about like the gables yet or anything in the roof, windows. That'll all come later, next video. Okay, but this is also tricky because I once again, I'm out of plane, right? I don't have anything to align this wall to, so I don't really know where to start. At this point, I would probably go back to Google Maps and just say, are there any relationships? For example, does this wall align with the bump out here? And it doesn't, but it's definitely close. So that lets me know, okay, this is a square. And before I didn't know it was a square. Could have been a rectangle. It looks like a square. And it's a little bit bigger than the distance from here to here, right? Or it's bigger than the alignment with that wall. Goes out farther. Okay, so that's helpful. What I'll do is I'll go to the top of the building here. And I'm going to use the polygon tool one more time. This time I'm going to tell it that I want 4 sides, 4, enter. And that just lets me draw a perfect square, right? Okay, like this. I'm going to, oops, let's try that again. I accidentally hit spacebar. Okay, and I meant to hit control there. Now it turns the square the way that I want it. Okay, how far do I go? Well, again, it's bigger than the bump out in, you know, here and here. It's bigger than that. That's all I know. So what about this? This gives me a radius of 14, 15. I'm just looking at the bottom right corner to see the number. And I think I want to go with about 16. Let's try that. That does come out further. Okay, I'm going to push pull this up. And okay, that's pretty good. It doesn't look like it extends back far enough here. So let's try it one more time. And this time I'll go with, hit control, I'll go with 17 feet. Okay, push pull. Try that. Yeah, that's better. I should have kept my push pull active. Okay, and I'm going to pull this up. And I like it. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I got to try 18. Do I try 18? Sure, let's try it out. You know, once again, I'm just looking at that one side that doesn't seem to extend far enough. Okay, we're going to do push pull. And then before I end this, I'll just go into this view. Okay, I got to be getting close now. And in fact, I'm not worried about that top element. I'm more worried about below, somewhere in here. Okay, let's go with that. Now obviously this comes down and there's stuff that I'm seeing here that I shouldn't, but once I put the roof on, the bottom portion of this would get covered up. Okay, and that sticks out, you know, past the bump outs like it should. So it's not perfect. It doesn't align with the corner here just perfectly, but I still think it's pretty good. If I want to do any fine tuning, I could always try to use the scale tool. Just make sure that I'm scaling about the center, which I'm not. So it says at the bottom here, it says push shift. No, it says push control to scale about the center. Okay, let's just see if moving it in or out would better align. Yeah, see there I can get a better alignment to the corner, but then I'm worse off in the back. So I better just pick something. It's jumping. It's not letting me pick. Let's go 0.95. I'll type it in. There. I met in the middle, right? I'm not right on the corner, but I'm just about far enough back to match the image. And I'm going to go back into push-pull mode. And I'm going to make sure not to go to the top of the underside of this cornice, but a little bit higher. Because I kind of want to envision, you know, where is the top of the cornice if it was flat all the way across? That would put my cube somewhere in here. And that's where the base of the tower is. Again, use your 3D goggles and just kind of envision that where's the top of this lower portion, ignoring the band across there. Okay, that's good. That's close enough. Last thing I got to do is just put in that octagon. So I'll just pause so that you don't have to watch that, and I'll put it in. My strategy, of course, is going to be, let's find the center, draw a quick octagon, and then I'll unpause and show you the finished product. All right, this is, of course, proving very difficult. It's difficult because it's really not matching up with my image. At this point, not at all. And I'm still going to go forward with it. I'm just going to say, okay, the top is somewhere in there. But once again, if I go look at Google Maps, you can see that that tower does indeed fill most of the cube that I've already extruded. And mine's probably proportionally about the same. And yet it doesn't feel like it is when you look at it with the image in the backdrop. And that's okay. You kind of will come across areas where you go, I know that things are symmetrical, so I can't really shift the tower here. I know that the size has got to be somewhat close. You know, based on the proportions that I'm looking at, I don't want to shrink this too much more. And so at that point, you just part ways with the picture and you say, it's got to be close and I'm going to be happy with it. And that's where I'm at here. Okay, we'll show some more in the next video. Don't forget, always, you want to make these groups or components. Let's make that a group. And I'm good to move on.